How's it going? It's Grant with the Garden of Eater, and in this video I'll give you guys a quick tour of the entertainment center. We've got all the tanks around our main TV in the living room. We've got our first tank stand that we ever built here, 255s with 4 10-gallons up top. First tank, we've got our pure red line, about 10 generations of work into these guys, breeding for the Missouri pattern as well as some nice deep white to them. Started off with about 5 different lines of different breeders who I thought weren't really overly priced but still had decent shrimp. Selected bred the best out of those, and this is the hard work you see out of these guys. They breed pretty true, a little bit of culling here and there, but quite happy with this line. Then we got our zebra pintos. And we've got our yellow King Kong. Really cool tank, different patterns in there from headless horseman all the way to full clear, just really dull and orange. And we've got one of our oldest caridina tanks that I haven't decided if I'm going to put a tiger in there or possibly a plan B. I'll go over that in a bit. Then we've got a mixed tank, Tang Thai, Aurora Thai, just thrown in there. Lots of different phenotypes. It's just a little like caridina Skittles tank, if you want to say. Really prolific, easy shrimp. Great beginner shrimp, because you know if you guys get the backline, Thai B, the double pigments, and Galaxy Pintos out of these guys, that your water parameters and everything like that are on point. This tank, I got, these were Bloody Mary crossed with painted reds, and as you can see, I kind of got just a bunch of wild different mix out of these guys. Yellow, blue, couple really patterns. At first it was just like a bunch of splotchy Bloody Marys kinda, but then I really tried to work on this black pigment on the red cherries and tried to select a breed for that, but there was just too many of these blotchy females that would get caught up in the moss and have their own babies in this giant 55-gallon tank. So I kind of let this project go on the back burners until I set some tanks up in the garage to select a breed and work on some neo tanks again, get some different lines going. But I'm just letting these guys do their thing until plan B kicks in. We've got another old caridina tank. Used to have Super Princess bees in here, but I moved them into a new tank in the bedroom. We've got our medium fancy red tiger tank, a couple fancy blacks as well in there. We've got our medium low grade in here. And we've got a Tang Thai project. This will be the same exact genetics as the other 2 tanks that I'll show you in a little bit, but these guys were bred for a different direction. So basically I line bred more for the yellow to try and get my own yellow King Kong line going, which I'm almost there, as you guys can see, and I haven't thrown any yellow King Kongs into this mix at all. Then we've got Shelby's longfin golden Danios. Got some black Thai bees down here. It's the same line as the next 2 tanks, but this is by far our cull tank for our black Thai bees. It's orange-eyed blue tigers crossed with Michelins, and then around F4 I threw in some ghost bees. And then here's kind of a step up in grade from the last tank, but still I'm just going for more solid color in this tank, not so many browns and orange like the last one. And then a step up from that tank is this tank, but still not our highest grade tank. We do have another tank that I'll show you guys along with the kitchen tanks, that a little bit nicer shrimp in there, but there's still some nice ones in here. Get some nice Thai B with the back lines also from these guys. as well as the Ghost Bee genes popping back up. Some nice blue backlines. And then we've got our culls for our fancy red tigers. My fat thumbs hit the button. But some of these guys, really cool pigments, coloration to them, but this is just a cull tank. And we've got some orange-eyed red tiger crosses going on here. Always playing around with genetics, and this is just another fun tank we got going on. Some little babies in there. And we've got Tang tie project. This is just a random Tang tie, nothing really line bred. This is just all different Tang tie from all around the house we're throwing in here, but then I've kind of been pulling out the nicer babies and keeping them and selling all the orange ones. Even got a little Missouri, really Yellow King Kong phenotype. And then we've got some mixed pintos, steels from my buddy Brandon Birdwell in New York. We've got the old Safari tank, no longer. This stuff in the bottom just raised the pH over time way quicker than it normally would have, so the substrate is exhausted. Now this is the main black fancy tiger tank. Of course the blacks have the recessive gene for red, so they pop up in the babies as well. And then we've got our fancy red tigers. Now you see all this carbon, charcoal, rock looking substrate in all the tanks. Well, this is aqua char, and the reason why it's in all of my tanks, especially these ones out here, is because one day I did flea meds on the dogs, just like I have done the last 5 years that I was keeping shrimp. But the same day I happened to get 7 of these 72-inch light bars for the house so that all of our tanks would have proper lighting. Well, the boxes made really great swords for all the kids, so we had a blast with the swords. After we were done, I had the kids place the swords on top of these 2 tanks. I then went outside, did some pond work, and came inside, took a shower, went to sit down and relax for the day, play a little Xbox, and I noticed this tank in particular, the shrimp were just zigzagging, going all the way to the top and then slowly falling down and landing on their backs. There was shrimp just on their sides, barely twitching, and there was just everything in between, from already dead shrimp to shrimp that looked like they were perfectly fine. I messaged a couple buddies who I thought were, biggest breeders in the States besides myself that maybe run into similar issue, and maybe what they would suggest they would do. And basically they told me just to do water changes, which I was already desperately in the middle of panicking of doing. And my buddy Chaz from Elevate Shrimp recommended that I throw in the aquachar that we had just gotten from our last aquashella. And almost immediately, as soon as I threw this in, some of the shrimp that looked alright, that had just went sideways, stood straight back up, were walking around fine. The shrimp stopped zinging around and zigzagging and panicking. They weren't as lethargic as they were. Kept up with the water changes. I had a couple deaths in these 2 tanks, which I kind of expect because I did put the boxes over these 2 tanks, so I think the hair that had the flea meds on it got in these 2 tanks the worst. I did throw it in the rest of the tanks just as a precaution. I did see some shrimp twitching in some of these tanks also. And this is also before I had lids. So this is a big reason, you know, why I have got lids on all the tanks now. This double polycarbonate, it's really cheap. It was about $100 for 4 foot by 8 foot, and it almost made 25 perfect lids for 10 gallons. So I really recommend keeping lids on all your tanks, or maybe just having the aquachar nearby. You know, you never know if you had something on your hands and you just saw something in the tank and you just stuck your hand in without thinking about it, and next thing you know, you've got some lethargic looking shrimp. You can just throw a little bit of aquachar in, and I never even took any of it out. I just left it in. And I mean, at the time, these were my most expensive shrimp, and nothing really went wrong in the tank, and they're continuing to breed and populate still to this day. It's been, I think this was back in February, in the beginning of February, so it's been 8 months, almost 9 months completely now, and the tanks have had no issues with the aquachar, even with the flea meds being in it before it. So highly recommend keeping some of that on deck. Thank you, Chaz, for recommending it, and thank you, Brian Covey, for, you know, producing the product and getting it out to us and giving it to us at the end of the show for free to try out, because it saved me quite a few shrimp, and I owe you guys both dinner. So next time you guys go out, dinner's on me for sure. And we've got some red bolts. And then these are the Tai B, basically the culls from my fancy red tigers. You see they do produce these dark reds and these Tai B double shadow phenotypes, and I just call them and throw them into their own tank. And then we've got some pandas, shadow pandas, just throw a couple into this tank as testers. It's kind of a new tank. And we've got the rest of the tank tie that I mentioned above, and I'm trying to work this line more on these greens. I've only got 2 or 3 that pop up, so the greener ones will stay in here. If they turn yellow, I've been moving them up into the tank above. I've been keeping some of the females, and I need to call out some of these other phenotypes for the males, but I'm gonna go heavy into the greens for this guy and a couple of other ones in here. And then we got this tank. I'm just gonna turn off this light now that we're done with that one. This same genetics, it's all Tang Tai. The base was Tangerine Tiger crossed with Shadow Panda. You kind of get the panda look there, but lots of blue steels, lots of Galaxy Pintos, lots of purples out of these guys. So fun little project. Only 8 generations of work, and there's just so much potential out of these guys. We've got some Yellow King Kong hybrids. This is from my Green Tiger project. A little blotchy, but decided to separate them to see how true they breed. For the most part, they're all yellow, just some of them are blotchy. The Headless Horseman, or really phenotypes even. And then basically the opposite of the tank tie, I've got my Aurora tie. This tank is a jungle though. You won't really be able to see too much of these guys. I do got a couple of Zebra Pintos and Galaxy Pintos out of these, as well as some purples. The base is just Aurora Tiger and Shadow Panda, and about 8 generations of work into these guys as well. We've got our blue bolts. We've had these guys forever. Survived the hurricane. I only had 2 of these guys after Irma and the power went out, and I've repopulated the colony and got them going again. These are the same Aurora tie as the 2 tanks before, however, I just different selection. I'm just trying to keep these blue tie-B type style, as well as some of the lighter steels in here, but the glare's so bad on these tanks, I'm sorry. And here's another project tank I've got going on. The Super Tigers these are F1 crossed with the Yellow King Kongs in the tank with a Super Tiger female. All the Yellow King Kongs in here, however, are selective bred from the hybrids before for the backline. It's really hard to tell on camera, but some of them got the yellow stripes down the back. So I've been trying to select to breed these guys, and I thought maybe even crossing the Super Tigers I'd get some nice yellow tigers out of those. So just some fun projects in there. And then we've got Shelby's tanks up top. She's got an empty tank. She hasn't decided if she wants to do Super Tigers or Stardust, but I think she's leaning towards Stardust. She's got her Super Calcios, her Golden Dragons, some really nice yellow to that one. She only just got these tanks set up and running. She wanted to get her own projects going on. And got the Missouri, and then that guy right there is like a 1 in a million. He's a half-sider. He's a totally different pattern on the other side of the shrimp. I wish he'd come out. I might come back to him and see if he comes out later. And then we've got Red Tiger, Orange Eye. Hopefully she'll get some berries out of there soon. And then she's got another Orange Eye project here. She's gonna make some Orange Eye Red Tigers with blue bellies. And then you gotta move the ladder. Only problem with having tanks up top. These are her Galaxy Pintos, and congratulations, Shelby. She just got her first batch of babies. And then she's also got 3 buried females still. Lots of potential out of these. And then she's got some Super Princess bees in there, not too many, but she's gonna end up crossing these, and she hasn't decided if she's gonna do raccoons or Stardust, but my money's on Stardust to see if they'll crossbreed. But these are our tanks, or our entertainment center. We don't use the TV too much. The kids do, but this is my entertainment right here for sure, especially at the dinner table. So thank you guys for watching. Please subscribe for future content.